When a fisherman discovered Carol Wayne's body floating off the coast of Mexico, authorities immediately sensed something was wrong. What followed, from the police investigation to the shocking autopsy results, revealed a story far darker than the bubbly image audiences knew. To viewers of The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson, Carol Wayne was the playful, wide-eyed blonde with perfect comedic timing, a regular presence opposite Johnny Carson. But behind the laughs and applause was a life marked by exploitation, fear, and secrets Hollywood never wanted exposed. This is the unsettling truth behind Carol Wayne, and why her story still haunts those who look too closely. Carol Wayne got her first real taste of fame very young. Born in Chicago in 1942, she and her younger sister Nina showed early promise as ice skaters, good enough to land jobs at just 15 and 16 on a 42-city tour with the Ice Capades. It was an exciting break, but it came at a steep price. Both girls dropped out of high school to take the job, and before long, everything changed. During one performance, Carol was executing her usual routine when she suddenly tripped, possibly on a penny or some other object tossed onto the ice, and went down hard. It wasn't a minor spill. The fall left her with a 5-inch scar down her knee and quietly ended her future as a competitive skater. Although she pushed through and finished the tour, the damage was done. The injury forced a painful reckoning. Carol later admitted that she had devoted her entire youth to skating, missing out on what she called a childhood of growing up, dating. And now she didn't even have a high school diploma to fall back on. The dream she had built her life around was over. So she pivoted, using the one thing she knew she could still command: attention. When Carol left the Ice Capades, Nina followed. The sisters reinvented themselves as showgirls in Las Vegas, performing at the Tropicana, much to their mother's dismay. Carol once joked that her mother took one look at their barely there costumes and asked, "Could you ask them for a couple more feathers?" Las Vegas turned out to be a stepping stone. While working there, Carol and Nina often drove to Los Angeles, chasing excitement and opportunity. On one of those trips, Carol found herself at a party when a man approached her and said, "We're looking for a girl just like you," inviting her to a screen test the very next morning. She was skeptical, but she went, and she never regretted it. Wayne clearly impressed at her screen test the very next day. She got the role the man had hinted at the night before. Later, she liked to joke about why things worked out so well. With a laugh and a glance at her chest, she once said slyly, "And I got all my parts ever since then." However it happened, Hollywood's door was now open to her. Still, at that moment, her heart was focused elsewhere. While working in Las Vegas, Wayne met Loretto Larry Serra and fell hard. The romance moved quickly, and the two married in May 1965. What might have seemed like the start of stability and a quieter life turned out to be anything but. The marriage unraveled almost as fast as it began. Wayne and Sarah barely had time for a proper honeymoon, and they divorced just a month after their second anniversary. Looking back, Wayne summed it up with her trademark humor, saying, "Skating taught me to be limber, but that marriage really taught me how to be flexible." Sadly, it wasn't her last romantic disappointment. By the time the marriage ended, Wayne's career was gaining momentum. She was landing guest roles, often playing sultry characters with names like Ginger LaVere and Bootsy Nightingale on popular shows such as The Man from UNCLE and I Dream of Jeannie. Unbeknownst to her, an even bigger break was right around the corner. In 1967, the same year her marriage ended, Wayne scored the opportunity that would define her career. Johnny Carson and his team cast her on The Tonight Show in the recurring Art Fern's Tea Time movie sketches, where she played the matinee lady. Sweet, wide-eyed, and impossibly voluptuous, delivering innocent lines that always landed as double entendres. With that role came real fame and plenty of controversy. Wayne appeared on The Tonight Show more than 100 times, and her undeniable chemistry with Carson fueled constant backstage rumors. Many assumed the two were romantically involved. When asked about it years later, Wayne didn't deny the spark between them. Instead, she suggested that timing always got in the way, saying there was always bad timing, because they were never single at the same time. Some of her remarks went even further. In the same interview, she hinted, half seriously, half playfully, that their bond ran deep. "He loves me. I love him," she said. "It's an understanding, a given. He still sees me every day in his dreams." Carson, however, never publicly echoed those sentiments. Whatever the truth, Wayne eventually moved on her own terms. Not long after her divorce from Larry Sierra, and right in the middle of her peak years on The Tonight Show, Wayne met rock and roll photographer Barry Feinstein. For her, it seemed electric from the start. Feinstein had that effortless cool, and his circle included legends like Bob Dylan and hard-edged Hollywood icons such as Steve McQueen. It was a world Wayne found intoxicating. But as usual, complications followed. Feinstein's first wife was Mary Travers of Peter, Paul, and Mary, and when Wayne met him, he was technically still married. Not for long, though. Travers and Feinstein divorced in 1967, the same year Wayne herself became single, a coincidence that didn't go unnoticed. Wayne didn't exactly slip into the picture quietly. While she was gracious and charming in public, she had a sharp wit when provoked. According to Hollywood's Babylon Women, after Wayne and Feinstein began seeing each other following their respective divorces, Wayne allegedly joked about Travers by calling her Peter, Paul, and Scary. Whatever the messiness of their beginning, Wayne and Feinstein made it official in 1969. A year later, Wayne gave birth to her only child, a son named Alex. Once again, it looked as though she might finally be settling into a balance of career and family. Once again, it didn't last. The marriage strained under pressure, and although they tried to hold things together, likely for their young son, the relationship unraveled. After 5 years, they divorced in 1974, leaving Wayne a single mother. She didn't stay unattached for long. By her early 30s, with 2 failed marriages behind her, Wayne was still chasing lasting love. Just a year after divorcing Feinstein, she married television and film producer Burt Sugarman. This time, though, the union appeared to offer more than romance. Sugarman was a powerful figure in television, producing exactly the kind of shows that suited Wayne's glamorous, playful persona. During their marriage, she became a panelist on Celebrity Sweepstakes and later appeared on Sugarman's game show, Who? Yet Wayne wanted more than game shows and familiar territory. Though she remained a popular fixture on The Tonight Show, she began pushing for more substantial work, including film roles. In 1979, after nearly a decade away from movies, she returned to the screen in the ensemble comedy Scavenger Hunt, playing a small but visible role as a nurse. For a moment, it seemed like things were finally turning a corner, until everything suddenly fell apart. In the early 1980s, Carol Wayne's life took a frightening turn. Johnny Carson, increasingly unhappy with the direction of The Tonight Show, threatened to walk away for good. The network panicked at the idea of losing its biggest star, but for Wayne, the threat cut closer to home. This was the most stable job she had ever known, and suddenly it felt fragile. When the standoff ended, Wayne was one of the casualties. NBC convinced Carson to stay by agreeing to shorten the show from 90 minutes to just 1 hour. The deal gave Carson more free time, but it also meant sweeping cuts. Much of Wayne's recurring work as the matinee lady disappeared almost overnight. Then came another blow. In 1980, Wayne's marriage to producer Burt Sugarman collapsed, just as her appearances on Carson's set were dwindling. Practically overnight, she found herself without the show that had defined her career, and without the industry connections that had once cushioned her landing. For the first time in years, Carol Wayne was nearly shut out of Hollywood. She was completely unprepared for how fast it happened. For over a decade, Wayne had worked steadily and reliably, even if she was rarely flashy. But now, with The Tonight Show gone and her marriage over, the phone stopped ringing. For the next few years, work dried up almost entirely, aside from the occasional minor role. Desperate for money and relevance, Wayne made a choice that divided opinions. In 1984, she posed for Playboy, and not in one of its subtle spreads. Publicly, it looked like a bold comeback attempt. Privately, something darker was unfolding. By the mid-1980s, Wayne's son Alex was in high school, and around that time he reportedly introduced her to Clove cigarettes. Wayne took to them obsessively. According to Hollywood's Babylon Women, she smoked so heavily that the strong scent reportedly got her turned away from several Hollywood restaurants. It didn't stop there. One of the things Wayne loved about Clove cigarettes was the head rush. And before long, she began chasing that sensation through alcohol and other substances. Given the losses piling up around her, it's hard not to see it as a form of self-medication. The consequences came fast. In 1984, the same year she earned much-needed cash posing for Hugh Hefner, Carol Wayne was forced to file for bankruptcy. It was a clear sign that much of her money had vanished into addiction. And yet, even that financial collapse wasn't the most heartbreaking part of what was happening to her. In her bankruptcy filing, Wayne revealed just how bleak things had become. The paperwork listed her income as zero, and it wasn't an exaggeration. The year before, her filmography showed exactly no work at all. Now, in her 40s, she had quietly slipped out of Hollywood's line of sight. And yet, within a year, life would take an even darker turn. Ironically, the final chapter of Wayne's story began with what looked like a small revival. Around the time she filed for bankruptcy, she appeared in the dramatic film Heartbreakers. It was a departure from the bubbly persona audiences knew, and the film even screened at the Berlin International Film Festival. More importantly, critics noticed her. For the first time in years, Wayne had a role with real depth, one that let her act instead of simply charm. When Roger Ebert reviewed the film, he singled her out, writing that her performance was so good, so heartbreaking, that it pulls the whole movie together. It could have been the start of a late-career reinvention. Instead, Heartbreakers became the last film she would ever make. In January 1985, possibly encouraged by the praise she had received, Wayne made a decision that would prove fatal. She traveled to the Las Hadas resort in Manzanillo, reportedly to dry out and get some distance from the habits that had driven her into bankruptcy. But just as she tried to regain control, everything unraveled. Traveling with Wayne was Edward Durston, a car salesman and Hollywood hanger-on. They appeared to be there as a couple, though even afterward, the exact nature of their relationship remained unclear. What was clear was that Durston was no stabilizing presence. In hindsight, it's hard to know whether Wayne truly intended to get sober at the resort at all. Hotel employees later said the pair spent their days having fun, dancing, and drinking. That fragile escape collapsed on January 10th, the day they were supposed to leave. Whether because of an argument or simple confusion, Wayne and Durston missed their flight out of Mexico. From there, things spiraled quickly. Las Hadas was an expensive resort, and they didn't have the money to stay, especially since their room had already been rented to someone else. Seeing how shaken they were, the staff at Las Hadas tried to help. They arranged for Wayne and Durston to stay at a cheaper hotel nearby, the Playa de Santiago. Wayne reacted badly. Witnesses later said she was furious at the idea of being sent to what she called a dump, and her anger boiled over. Already frustrated by the day's mishaps, she reportedly erupted when they arrived around 8:30 that evening, refusing to get out of the taxi or step inside the hotel. As Durston and a bellboy carried their luggage up to the room, Wayne stayed outside, visibly seething. When Durston came back down to find her, he was met with something far worse than an argument. Wayne was gone. No one nearby had seen where the blonde lady had gone or which direction she'd taken. Instead of raising an alarm, Durston appeared more annoyed than worried. He sat down at the hotel bar, seemingly assuming she would return once she cooled off. That decision proved disastrous. As the night went on and Wayne still didn't come back, Durston's actions grew increasingly troubling. Rather than continue searching, he checked into another hotel altogether, ensuring that Wayne wouldn't be able to find him if she returned. Then he did something even colder. He boarded a flight back to Los Angeles without her. He took her bags with him, telling the airline she would pick them up in the morning, despite the fact that no one had seen her for hours. The next time Carol Wayne was seen, it was under horrifying circumstances. On January 13, 1985, a fisherman casting his net spotted a body floating in a shallow bay. It was Wayne, still fully clothed. He pulled her from the water, but there were no signs of life. The woman America knew as the cheerful matinee lady had finally been found, dead, bloated, and leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions that would never fully be resolved. Mexican police quickly ruled Carol Wayne's death suspicious, but the reasons were deeply unsettling, and the questions they faced offered no comforting answers. Had she slipped and drowned by accident? Had she, overwhelmed by the argument and her unraveling life, taken her own life? Or had someone else, someone like Edward Durston, played a direct role in her death? The autopsy only deepened the tragedy. It showed that Wayne had been dead for between 36 and 48 hours by the time a fisherman found her, placing her death alarmingly close to the moment she vanished after the confrontation with Durston at the hotel. Even more striking, toxicology tests found no alcohol or drugs in her system. Whatever struggles she'd been fighting, she appeared to have been sober at the end. Instead of closure, the findings raised even more doubts. Manzanillo District Attorney Jorge Hernandez was unconvinced by the most common explanations. Suicide didn't sit right with him. Accidental drowning seemed just as unlikely. The water where her body was found was calm and shallow, and there were no bruises, cuts, or injuries suggesting a fall from rocks or a ledge. That left a far darker possibility. Attention inevitably turned to Edward Durston. From an investigative standpoint, the circumstances were damning. He had argued with Wayne shortly before she disappeared. He never reported her missing. And most disturbing of all, he boarded a plane back to Los Angeles without her. As investigators dug deeper, another unsettling detail surfaced. Edward Durston had been linked to a suspicious death years earlier. In 1969, aspiring actress Diane Linkletter had called Durston to her home shortly before she fell or jumped from a window to her death. At the time, police focused on substances found in her system and ultimately cleared Durston of any wrongdoing. The parallel was chilling. Still, those who suspected Durston would ultimately be disappointed. Despite lingering doubts and repeated questions, Carol Wayne's death was officially ruled an accident. Durston was never charged, even after the case was revisited multiple times over the years. What actually happened in Wayne's final moments remains unknown. The prevailing conclusion is that she slipped and fell into the water while walking along the beach, distraught, distracted, and alone. The irony is painful. One of the running jokes about Wayne's hourglass figure during her appearances on The Tonight Show was, "With that chest, this lady will never drown." Even more haunting was a lighthearted exchange she once had with Johnny Carson. During a sketch, Carson joked, "Someday you'll be 47, his own age at the time." Wayne smiled and replied, "I hope so." She never made it. Carol Wayne was just 42 when she died. For all the playful, cheeky energy she brought to television, her sudden end devastated fans and colleagues alike. Carson himself quietly paid tribute in his own way, retiring the Art Fern character, the one most closely tied to Wayne's matinee lady, for much of the following year, out of respect for a friend he had lost far too soon. Tragedy didn't end with Carol Wayne. It touched the next generation, too. In a 1967 interview with the Oil City Derrick, Carol's sister Nina Wayne spoke tenderly about their bond. "We go everywhere together," she said, "and if I'm away, we talk on the phone at least once a day. Somehow, we never competed with each other. We learned to work together. I don't know what I'd do without her." It was a rare glimpse of warmth and closeness behind the public image. Years later, Nina would face a devastating loss of her own. On June 30th, 2014, the San Diego Union-Tribune reported that Nina's daughter, Jessica, had died just days before her 48th birthday, only one day after she and her mother had spent time together. At first, few details were released. It wasn't until August that the Los Angeles Times revealed the San Diego County Medical Examiner's conclusion: Jessica's death was ruled an accidental overdose. Multiple substances were found in her system, including methamphetamine, methadone, nordiazepam, and tramadol. Jessica was the daughter of Nina and her former husband, John Barrymore, making her the half-sister of Drew Barrymore. In a brief statement to People, Drew acknowledged the loss with quiet compassion. "Although I only met her briefly, I wish her and her loved ones as much peace as possible." For a family already marked by sudden loss, it was another heartbreak, one that echoed the fragility that had followed them for decades. So what do you think really happened in Carol Wayne's final hours? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want more deep dive stories like Carol Wayne, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss what's next. I'll see you next time. Bye.